Hello, I am Rob Pinkerton. Welcome to Oracle CloudWorld, which is a hybrid event hosted October 17th and 20th in Las Vegas, and also online through sessions like the one you're about to listen to today. Today's session, Get Ready for Madtech, is what we are going to talk about for the next um, 25 minutes or so. Um, as I mentioned before, I'm Rob Pinkerton. I'm Senior Vice President of Marketing for the Oracle Customer Experience team. I have worked in marketing, Martech, and advertising tech for a long time, both as a maker of Madtech and AdTech and a marketer of Madtech and AdTech. And I've also managed both types of technologies to drive my business and begin with a story today of my own experience with integrating Martech and AdTech and help frame what we're going to talk about today. But that story doesn't start with technology; it starts with people. And for context, I was the CMO of Morningstar, a $2 billion global financial services firm, for 7 years, from 2015 to 2021. Primary responsibility I had was running the marketing team of a couple hundred people and its MarTech stack, which included about 150 different technologies, which included Eloqua to support demand gen, branding, live, and digital experiences. Morningstar also had a long-standing and successful niche advertising business in the wealth management sector across digital, live, and print publications. And in 2019, that team, about 30 ad tech professionals, moved onto my team with the intent of integrating the marketing technologies, processes, experiences, and skills we'd built to create a more integrated customer experience. Now, the deep dive in ad tech with Martech was awesome, but the first thing that struck me were the similarities and the differences between the two teams that both had exceptional skills in customer understanding, as if they were viewing the same world through a different angle of the prism. So just like I had to do in 2019, introducing the marketing team to the advertising team, I thought today I'd start with introductions. And you're going to notice there's a lot of similarities between these two groups and goals and charters. That's by design. But what I'll do is highlight kind of some of the hidden superpowers they had developed in each of the different groups that I think will help you to see the opportunity of Madtech. So first, for the marketers on the call, meet the advertiser. The advertiser I'm referring to, these are professionals who have worked in paid media teams, brand and agencies, even at publishers, and they're primarily responsible for finding new prospective customers operating in unknown spaces like social, open web, television, streaming platforms, and more. And they engage your current customers too, both known and unknown, through external channels. The advertisers that I have known have developed several superpowers that I discovered through the use of ad tech. First, they can read minds. A large group of prospects and customers that they can understand through the top of funnel behavior with extraordinary accuracy and mathematical precision. Second superpower, they have x-ray vision. Whether that's brand risk, channel conflict, or just unexpected expenses, they can see around corners and anticipate problems like no marketer I've ever seen. And they have a keen sense of smell. And by smell, I mean like they can sniff out growth, especially in the B2C businesses without, where they don't have a sales team for distribution. The ad team carries revenue, and man, they can sniff out growth opportunity. But it's also true in B2B, where transactional nature of advertising just helps teams develop a keen sense of smelling out great opportunity. Now, for the marketers in the room, for the advertisers on the call, please meet the marketer. And by marketer, I'm referring to professionals who generally work at brands and live experiences, demand gen, product or brand marketing teams. They run their own media and execute campaigns and programs. They're primarily engaging, communicating, and driving sales with existing customers, but not entirely. They operate, through email, websites, physical storefronts, other own spaces. And the marketer has also developed several superpowers through Martech. Uh, they have superhuman strength, or at least it can look that way to advertisers because marketers generally are closer to the business and they have full customer experience under their purview, so they can impact priorities and prospect behavior in channels and modes that are often new to advertisers. A second superpower they have is they can stretch. Marketers cover a wide span of the customer experience and are well conditioned to make resources cover needs and think across how teams meet multivariate requirements. Uh, they're also, third superpower, they're multilingual. Marketers count most every department, every customer experience stage as a stakeholder, and they have learned to translate and adapt based on stakeholder language required to advance progress with a given group or stage. The superpowers, whether it's superpowers, direct responsibilities, technologies, products, budgets, all of these obviously vary across different groups and different businesses, both for marketing and advertising roles. They demand that you reach your target audience with the right message at the right time. Right? All marketers and advertisers understand that. And ultimately the customer is the great equalizer. Customer doesn't know who has the superpowers, what the responsibilities are, and what technologies each group is using between marketing and advertising. They don't know where it begins or ends. They just see your brand, corresponding messages that may or may not match up to the desired experience. Customers expect you to know them. We all know that, and anticipate their needs and surface relevant offers, make better contact, make first contact. And as great marketers and advertisers know, we all are constantly striving to meet those customers where they are at the right time, and with the right creative resources in response. McKinsey tells us that 72% of customers say they expect businesses, that the businesses they buy from will recognize them as individuals and know their interests. And getting that right reaps great rewards. 76% of customers responding or considering first purchase from brands that personalize, 78% repeating purchases and recommending brands to friends and family. The result is often, or is actually expected to be 40% more revenue than average for the personalization player who follows of that ability to recognize and personalize for the customer. So on the opposite side, the non-growth side, what are the downsides? The opposite end is also that when communication with customers is haphazard, when consumers can be frustrated with your brand, they tend to get disaffected with a company, and 76% say that when they don't see personalized understanding of who they are, they get frustrated. So to avoid angry customers and gain lifetime advocates, brands need to take the approach of best-in-class companies. These firms don't see personalization as an independent advertising issue or a marketing responsibility. They view it as an organizational-wide opportunity. And that's a lot about what we're talking about with Madtech, focusing the energy on long-term growth drivers that help emphasize lifetime value across the entire company over short-term gains of individual company short-term goals. So where Madtech comes in, and Madtech is, again, it's a mashup of Martech and AdTech and the convergence of advertising and marketing technology, as well as, those enabled superpowers that we just talked about, the people who use those technologies that marketers and advertisers wield. The term was coined with the idea that both sides of prospect outreach can come together to orchestrate better business outcomes, like combining marketing's ability to stretch those personalized messages across own channels, and with advertising's ability to read the minds through paid media and get better targeting and more personalized messages in both owned and unowned channels, giving the consumer the right message wherever, however they choose to engage with your brand. So Madtech technology is not the future. Some companies are already doing a great job communicating cross communicating with customers today. My guess is you have your favorites. If you think about it, I appreciate the firm that provides me with contact lenses, once a year. They advertise and market to me all year long, but they only text me once a year. And as text is that kind of most intimate, intrusive channel, depending on context, they're careful. And they text me shortly before they let me know my supply of contact lenses is running low, because I know I'm probably likely going to buy some more, which I appreciate because I want to be able to see. And that often prompts me to look at what emails that they send throughout the year, or even at the time that I'm ready to purchase again, on-site offers. It doesn't matter, because I know they respect my boundaries while seeking my attention. And that is the promise of Madtech. So what we're going to do is review the various ways brands can deliver more cohesive messages, learn about their current customer, convert new prospects with Madtech. I'll note a lot of the examples you may see when I talk to Madtech are simpler and easier to convey in a business to consumer experience, because in B2C advertising tends to be the larger part of distribution than in a business to business experience. So examples are easier to convey, but it's equally relevant to both. And I'll try to highlight both as we go. So with Madtech, you can deliver a cohesive, personalized, cross-channel experience, connecting with potential customer across social media, leading them to make an in-store purchase. Later, then you can keep in touch by email about upcoming promotion, which leads to more browsing on your e-commerce site. Back on social, they receive personalized ads related to their previous purchase, prompting them to purchase and secure loyalty through perhaps your loyalty program. The simplest way to think of this opportunity is to replace that poor experience when I look at a pair of shoes online and the ad for those shoes follows me to other sites completely out of context with an experience, and replace that with an experience that integrates more context from first-party MarTech data across own channels and leverages prospect preferences. MarTech will enable more enhanced view of existing customers. Once able to earn new customer first-party data like email, phone number, address, brands can enrich data with second and third-party attributes to build more comprehensive profiles, improving customer segmentation, creative website personalization, and more. This is an area where business-to-business businesses are discovering the benefits of Madtech. Just think, for example, enriching first-party data with second-party partner data for an upcoming event that two firms are co-sponsoring together. And it really can enrich the experience and allow for customers to benefit more from all the different tools that marketing and ad teams have to offer. Also, finding new prospects. First-party data can help prospect new customers. Through comprehensive lookalike modeling, we can deliver personalized ads through social, streaming audio, TV, and more to drive prospects to own properties and to begin to build more direct relationships with customers in ways that we hadn't previously when we just looked through the lens of only third-party advertising or first-party marketing. So the three examples I just offered, probably seem kind of obvious. I mean, these seems like things that maybe we expect, and of course we want to do, right? And should be able to do, that many of you likely are doing in some capacity. But you also likely recognize how hard it can be, and that there are many challenges in creating communications across an entire customer journey. And the promise of Madtech is that it can make it easier and make it more impactful. But let's recognize that when misdeployed, it could also potentially make it harder. So let's explore why and sort of what to look for and how to make sure as this starts to happen in your environment that you're ready. All right, first, what I described in just those three examples, they take a lot of time. Marketers and advertisers rely on many techniques, and it's hours upon hours of manual work to create this seemingly seamless journey. I assume you know what I mean. I assume that you've been there. But we know it does take a lot of time, and there's good reasons for that, which we'll also explore a little. You know, the tools of the trade have gotten us here. Are also changing. People are worried about cookie deprecation. Has been a really important. Cookies have been a really important tool. And there is a technical, well-known technical transition that's going to change the way we prospect new customers online. And cookies, for those who don't know, are small downloaded packets of data about a user that enable websites to personalize their digital experience. It's one of the ways advertisers can better capture and communicate with unknown customers and known across the web. But when cookie deprecation, Google will phase out cookies in 2024, which will impact user understanding through third-party data. Finally, there's a choice fatigue, frankly, for marketers in terms of the tools and expertise that they build. It's hard to know which tools of the trade to use and which will endure. You're looking at the Lumascape, the amount of companies that are out solving advertising and marketing challenges. It just continues to grow, making the Madtech space, it's crowded, it's complicated, and it can also be expensive. 10 years ago, this graph or this chart had like less than 100 companies on it. Now we track tens of thousands in the tech space. So that has implications of its own. Frankly, today, most of these solutions operate on a straight line, not communicating holistically, but which can make it difficult to gain insight into neighboring teams and neighboring data, whether you're using them for customer engagement, analytics, advertising platforms, internal tools, there's content, and segmentation, and measurement, and email marketing. Like, it does tend to create multiple silos of data and customer insight that can actually cause your data to be harder to integrate, which makes it harder to integrate. It makes it harder to deliver an integrated customer experience. One batch of consumers gains loyalty through communication, while another receives corporate-wide emails, and another buyer receives no communication at all. And we've all probably had this experience. Again, this is something that we want to guard against with Madtech, and we want to be prepared for. So we're using this convergence to make these problems simpler rather than harder. It's going to be a challenge. And if it were easy, of course, it wouldn't be fun for all the tech nerds out there. And there's frankly a part of the cycle. This is just a part of the technology cycle of adoption and renewal that we see over years of time with new and innovative technologies. So on the journey into Madtech, here are some guideposts. You'll need to prioritize first-party data collection and bring all data points together. For marketers, they've been working on this for a while and might be a little newer for advertisers, but it's critical, and it becomes critical in terms of stakeholder partnership across other groups in the organization, from service to sales to finance and even supply chain and HR sometimes. Next, partnering with multiple identifiers will give marketers and advertisers reach and downstream platforms that don't rely on cookies. Additionally, partnering with an identification graph will give you a holistic identity to garner insights in a private and secure way for your first-party data, for advertisers and marketers, doing customer segmentation, creative inspiration, and more. Third, once you have data and identity, you'll need connected tools that can orchestrate experiences across hundreds of consumer touchpoints throughout their marketing and their advertising journey. And once you have that, you need to, after you have that, and you can start running your media, and you're operating in this sort of new Madtech sort of way, you'll need to measure it so you can continue to optimize performance, cross-channel, and do all this safely and with your customers' consent. Customer consent is critical, because porting customer data into 30 different spaces increases chances of data leakage, right? It's not safe for your consumers or your brand's reputation. Okay, so that's sort of, some guideposts. I think you'll also want to prepare yourself for the requirements for some investment, frankly, across privacy, targeting, sharing, measurement, and integrations. And when this comes up, you want to remember, our slides from earlier, companies that invest in that omni-channel communication, that deep personalization, reap 40% more revenue than average personalization players. So a quick tour of the requirements here. Privacy. You will look to govern data across apps and ecosystems, centralize access to customer data, to respond to privacy requests, as well as to collect and honor consent across channels. Remember consent, always looking to honor, preserve consent of your data across so many different channels and so many different ways that you can do outreach to your customers. Within that targeting, you'll need to invest in improved targeting and segmentation, addressability, bringing cross-channel context in all these campaigns, and ad placement to ensure you're hitting relevant brand safe content. For sharing policy, you'll need to garner new data and share that across the organization to stakeholders. You can expand reach by leveraging second-party data in secure environments, as well as access specific industry third-party audiences. Measurement is needed to optimize media and leverage analytics for higher ROI in this new context. And that's going to be important to demonstrate the return and demonstrate the value. And lastly, integrations. There's a lot of technologies in your Madtech stack. You'll need to orchestrate data sets across a wide range of marketing and advertising technologies. So all of these investments and areas of focus can feel a little overwhelming. And this is why we're having this session, because Oracle has already been working hard to simplify the solution and to help you with the work ahead. Oracle is already in production with holistic applications that will allow brands to bring data into our core infrastructure. Customer data could be brought in through sales, marketing, service, or back office applications like ERP, supply chain, even HR, provided by Oracle or any other company you choose to work with. We can also bring in your advertising data, import data from second-party tags, identity partners, and more. All of this data will live safely within our data sanctuary. Think of this as like a secure virtual home in the cloud and anonymized with our identity graph. Once consumer data insights are held safely, you can export data to Oracle or other third-party applications to be used for email, analytics, measurement, and more. Data destinations can also pass back learnings into that data sanctuary to be called up for later use by your entire organization. So allowing you to target both customers, prospects, share data across departments, and measure performance safely, all within one integrated platform. That's the goal. So at the foundation of Oracle's Madtech platform, vision, all the familiar tools to execute all of your advertising and marketing programs. We have them. We've been advancing them towards this vision. And we're here to help you on your journey to Madtech. So let's wrap up with a little fact versus fiction, because often we find the entry point, for our customers into Madtech or any Madtech discussion is confronting a myth or a potential myth. So we'll go through these quick. First, fact or fiction. Cookie deprecation means the end of third-party data for advertising. Is it fact or fiction? This is a fiction. Cookies are one type of third-party data. There are many other customer identifiers and data sources that exist today that will persist post-cookie. Anyone who did direct response marketing before the internet, they can attest to this. Fact or fiction, digital advertising is only for prospecting new customers. This is one a lot of marketers may believe and is super important, but it is, of course, fiction. Advertising is also used to reach and engage existing customers outside of your own properties. This is kind of obvious in the context of traditional advertising, where you think of out of home and brand building, but digital advertising is just wonderful strategies to deploy to extend existing relationships, and I think Madtech will open a lot of that up. Fact or fiction, first-party data is all I need going forward for advertising. Of course, that's fiction. Brands will always need to reach new prospects to do what they may and rely more on first-party data, but we'll need third-party data and second-party data to supplement reach. And some brands, especially those sold in like drug, grocery stores, department stores, do not have direct relationships with many of their customers, and they're always looking for other ways to reach their customers. Fact or fiction, delivering seamless omni-channel engagement through Madtech will require teamwork. Of course, this is fact. It's kind of obvious, but I think we needed one fact, not all fiction. Remember to rely on each other's superpowers. I mean, that's how it's a great way to relate around strengths. Marketers and advertisers will need to work close together, closer than ever before, to achieve the omni-channel communication experience that customers are demanding. Last fact or fiction, Madtech is some distant future that you don't need to worry about just yet. Of course, if you've gotten all the way to the end of this session, you know that's a fiction. Many Madtech capabilities are available now with more seamless integrations between applications, and every day they get better. It's imperative to be on the forefront of this technology to continue to win brand loyalty and in the future, now and forever. And one of the benefits of participating in Oracle CloudWorld is you can get the jump on your competitors because you have a broad survey of what the future holds when it comes to Madtech. So thanks so much for listening. Please enjoy the rest of the conference and have a wonderful day.